When American troops marched into Rome in June 1944 during World War II, it was the beginning of one of pasta's most interesting legends, that of Spaghetti Carbonara. But is it a legend or fact? And who created it? And what did that first carbonara look like? Is it true that carbonara is actually an American invention? The origin of carbonara pasta is as controversial as the preparation of the dish itself. But one specific legend has endured. American troops were eager for a hot meal to liberate them from the boredom of their daily meal rations, specifically K-rations. It was in this context that a local Rome chef used ingredients from rations, such as eggs, cheese, and bacon, and combined them with Italian pasta to invent the carbonara. In this video, we dig into this legend to separate myth from reality. Then, we'll recreate what might have been this first carbonara recipe, using first and second-hand accounts of an Italian chef who is often credited with inventing it. Chef Renato Gualandi. Renato Gualandi was a young Italian chef during World War II. Late in his life, he wrote a book where he claimed credit for creating the carbonara during the war for Allied troops using ingredients from military rations. But what did Renato Gualandi say he used in this first carbonara recipe? Renato says his carbonara was created almost entirely from ration ingredients: processed cheese, powdered egg yolks, cream or powdered milk, depending on the source, and American bacon, probably pre-cooked. To these ingredients, he added butter, black pepper, and obviously Italian pasta. Mescolo tutto con crema di latte, crema di formaggio e finisco con una spolverata di pepe nero. But what were these World War II rations? Well, rations were simply daily meals for the troops. There were many varieties, named A, B, C, 5 and 1, but the legends around carbonara very often reference K-rations specifically. K-rations were the most practical and yet most detested among American soldiers. They were designed for troops on the move. They contained only pre-cooked and pre-packed ingredients that didn't require any refrigeration. These K-rations came in breakfast, dinner, and supper units. There was a lot of stuff inside of them: cookies, gum, instant coffee. But we only care about possible carbonara ingredients from the entrees: chopped eggs and ham, processed cheese with or without bacon, processed pork loaf, think Spam. Do we see anything here that could have been used in Renato's carbonara, or let alone in a traditional carbonara? The only ingredients Renato could have used was the processed cheese in a can. In fact, he said he did just that. Based on our extensive research, that's the only ingredient that the K-rations could have contributed. So what about the bacon? The rations that contained slices of bacon were the B and the 5 in 1, not the K. Renato also said he used powdered egg yolks in his first carbonara, and this is historically credible. Powdered eggs were used abundantly in World War II camps because they were easy and cheap to transport and had a long shelf life. For the rest of Renato's carbonara ingredients, cream, butter, and pasta, we're likely talking about A rations, ingredients procured locally. Now let's recreate Renato's recipe with ingredients found in Italy today and see what it tastes like. Pecorino Romano cheese, guanciale. They are the staples in the carbonara considered traditional in Italy today. But sorry guys, Renato doesn't mention them at all, so we're not gonna use it. Instead, we'll be using American bacon, processed cheese, pasteurized egg yolks, just because we couldn't get our hands on powdered eggs, butter, and obviously some black pepper and Italian pasta. All the ingredients that Renato said he used in his recipe. By the way, this carbonara recipe is an authentic nightmare for a modern Italian. What we do have here is perhaps the origin of the carbonara recipe commonly known in America. In fact, all those ingredients are practically used in United States, for example, to make carbonara these days. Alright, so we start with the bacon. We have to cook ours, but Renato was most certainly starting with pre-cooked bacon during World War II. Cans of pre-cooked bacon were even sold in America during the war. And if you think we're going to include this delicious bacon grease in our carbonara, well, sorry to disappoint. During World War II, it is well documented that the bacon grease was collected in order to produce glycerin for bomb making. The American government even asked housewives to save their bacon grease and donate it for this purpose. So, well, we're gonna set this aside. Actually, we're gonna donate it too. Renato might have also had some bacon bits coming from the Rations processed cheese, which came with and without bacon. So to simulate this, we'll add a handful of bacon to our processed cheese. And if Renato was using this pre-cooked bacon, it might explain why he added melted butter to this dish, to add some fat and reinvigorate the bacon. We're cooking our pasta for about a minute less than the time required for al dente, and then we finish the pasta in the pan. The processed cheese. Processed cheese was very popular during the war because it was easy to produce in the factory in large quantities. The K-Ration processed cheese came in American and Swiss flavors. Well, I couldn't get my hands on Velveeta, which is probably the most similar to the K-Ration cheese, so I'm selecting a product popular in Italy called Formaggino Mio. And we are choosing the Parmigiano flavor just to give a bit of the tang that American or Swiss cheese would have had. It's a kind of Formaggino that we give to kids. They love it. Some cream. And in goes the eggs. And like a carbonara, we're just going to quickly mix it all together. Renato specifically said that what conquered the military guests, the generals, was not so much the egg in the carbonara, but the creamy melted cheese sauce, which he describes as bavoso, an Italian word that roughly translates to slobbering or mouth-watering. I almost dare to say slimy. And finally, Renato says he added the black pepper at the last minute. Renato called his carbonara a mappazzone, which is basically an unrefined dish of a bunch of different stuff tossed all together. Mappazzone. Yeah, it is truly a mappazzone. But look at how creamy it does look. So what do you say, shall we give it a taste? So what's the verdict? Well, we could totally see why American troops would have loved this version of the carbonara. It's real comfort food, as the Americans say. But what do you think about this World War II carbonara and carbonara in general? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video or learned something new, give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for new video notifications.